Hi all, and welcome to Data Lens, the short series where we talk about market research in the outdoor hospitality industry. Today, I'm here with Scott Barr, the president of Cairn Consulting Group. With over 35 years of market research experience, Scott has a wealth of knowledge to share, and I'm here to ask him the questions that you want to know. So let's hop in. On today's episode, we'll be talking about MaxDiff and how it can help you make better business decisions. So, Scott, before we hop in, any initial thoughts or comments?
This discussion today is really one that most businesses should think about a little bit, because it gets to the heart of how people make decisions, how they prioritize, and how they what they're willing to trade to get what they really want. So that's kind of at the heart of what we're talking about today.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like MaxDiff really helps prioritize things, but yeah, let's get into it. So, Scott, what is MaxDiff analysis and how does it work?
Essentially, MaxDiff stands for maximum difference. What you're looking for here is a way to tease out the actual priorities among a set of consumers. Could be B2B too, but what we do with MaxDiff is instead of having things scaled so that you so say it's importance, you ask someone to say on the scale of 1 to 5, how important is this to you? And then you do that for all the different attributes. And this could be all the components of food at a restaurant. It could be a hospitality experience, any of those things. And if you ask them how important it is, for some people, they're going to tell you they're all important. They're all 5s, or maybe a couple subtle differences in there. But you're not asking them to say, is, for example, having a swimming pool more important than a hot tub? You ask them how important it is for your stay, and they may say they're both somewhat important to me. But if you really want to know which of those two is more important, what you ask the person to do is decide between the swimming pool and the hot tub. If you had to make a decision, which one would you choose? So that's at the heart of discrete choice analysis, which is what this is. There's a couple different types of discrete choice analysis. The other is what's called conjoint analysis, and that's where you will present someone with a package of attributes. So say, again, let's use that in the campground stay. You would test different levels of the type of site, the whether or not you have a swimming pool, whether or not you have a hot tub, the cost will be thrown in there, the location of the site, is it by the water, is it and all those things. And so they'll decide, you'll present them with, say, 3 different packages that have different levels in them, and they'll pick the one they want. And from there, you can determine, somewhat the importance of each of those. MaxDiff is a little bit different in that what you're going to do is present to the person a list of, say, 4, maybe 5 different attributes. And say you're designing a hamburger, and you say you have 4 of these attributes. The one is it a beef burger or a veggie burger? Is it a sesame seed bun or is it a poppy seed bun? So you would do each of those. You'd say, okay, it's a beef burger. You have to make a choice: beef burger, sesame seed bun, pickles, ketchup, mustard. Which of those is most important to you? And the person's and then you say which is least important. So in a MaxDiff, now you have a different piece of information in there. So for each of those attributes, you say, okay, the person says having the beef burger is most important to me. Pickles is least important. So now within that set, what the person prioritizes at the top, at the bottom, but also those ones that they didn't choose are now in the middle. So while not negative, they are implied neutrals. So if you think of it from the point of view of within that set, The most important gets a +1. Least important is -1. Those others are zeros. And you do that repeatedly for all the different types of attributes. You keep repeating it and you pair them up with different attributes. So now what you have at the end of this exercise is you get a score for each of those items, and you will know which one is at the top and which one is at the bottom. It will be very clear to you. You will see this. You can see it visually when you graph it, that the one at the top is very clearly the important, which means that every time it appeared in a set, it was more likely to be chosen as most important. And if it's at the bottom, if it appeared in the set, it was more likely to be said that it's least important. And it's a very, very powerful technique. People use this in a variety of industries. You can use it, it's really potent for product development. It can be very potent, if you're in hospitality again, of how that person prioritizes their stay. When they're staying with you, what are the things that are most and least important to them? And that's how you figure out how to design your campground, how you design and prioritize, how you market what you provide, what you prioritize in terms of improving and developing. So it's it's a technique that, in a nutshell, is incredibly powerful. It's fairly easy to implement, and at the end of it, you will have the clearest idea you've ever had of what you should be doing.
Thanks for that input. But one thing kind of stuck out to me is so MaxDiff and ranking surveys, kind of what's the difference and why is MaxDiff better?
Once again, in ranking, ranking isn't too bad, I'll say. It comes in second to MaxDiff. The problem is if you have a lot of different levels or attributes or items that you want to include in your test. Say you have 12 to 15. It's a little bit more difficult to get someone to rank all 12. From 1 through 12, and then you're not getting to those paired trade-offs and the repeat exposures, because in MaxDiff they don't rank it just one time. They're gonna have 3 to 4 different opportunities to see that item in a list with others. And it's always paired with different items too. So those repeated exposures is the real strength between MaxDiff and ranking. But ranking isn't bad. It gives you a real clear, quick snapshot. In terms of the ranking, by the way, I lean a lot into if it's a long list of just doing the top 3 to 5 maybe. And at the end of the day, we always see how many people ranked it first, each one first. So that's kind of what it boils down to with that approach. But yeah, it's one of those things where it is a bit superior to ranking, but ranking again is not it's not bad. Ranking is a little bit easier to understand, and if you're doing your own work, which I'd kind of recommend against, and just for a number of reasons, to hire someone or bring in someone to consult with, that the MaxDiff is you can't do on your own, whereas a ranking you can. Most, I think even Google Forms has a way to do some questionnaires, and you can do rankings on that. You could even do paper and pencil surveys and have people do rankings, but you really can't do a MaxDiff without having the right software.
Gotcha. So it's just a matter of ease of implementation, it sounds like. Yeah.
That's a big part of it. But again, at the end of the day, the MaxDiff is going to be it's going to give you the clearest idea of what your winner is.
Okay. So I guess, how do I phrase this? When you're looking at, say, how to, or rather what you're trying to use MaxDiff for, or to maybe say like the top three features or, areas that, we could essentially apply this to for various organizations. Doesn't have to be outdoor hospitality.
So in some of the different applications, I mean, honestly, I think, I just saw this because we've done this in the past, is kind of menu development, for example. This one's really easy to understand too. I should have said this first. That, for example, if you are providing food service at your campground or park, whatever, one of the things you can do is, like, do you want to figure out what people want for breakfast? Well, here's a way to do it. You do a MaxDiff exercise that has a list. Your list of breakfast choices are, say, scrambled eggs, fried eggs, omelets, bacon, sausage, ham, wheat toast, rye toast, white toast, fruit bowl, yogurt, granola, all these things. So say you have a list, maybe 15 items. You run this through the MaxDiff, and that what you're going to find out, and then you can profile this by type of camper too, to see who wants what type of breakfast, and you can build your breakfast menu from there. You can do the same thing for lunch. You can do the same thing for dinner. You can do the same thing with your store. Now, especially if you'd have to do categories there because you have too many items. But the whole point is that these are all situations where you can use this. The menu and ingredient thing is we did some research for an organization that was much like HelloFresh, a similar organization that was thinking, it was a startup that was trying to develop their packages, and we used MaxDiff to tell them what they should include based on their typical customer profile. So for them, it was really clear. They had some ideas, like what type of appetizers should we have? Do we have chicken wings, or do we have spinach artichoke dip? I mean, it's it's that type of application, and for the client or the person, the end user, it again gives them this very clear, concise way of moving forward, and you can move forward with a lot of confidence as well.
That seems to be the thing with MaxDiff, is it really helps you, again, just find a clearer answer and get you really towards the kind of understanding. It's like, okay, this is what sets it apart, or this is like kind of the key features that are really important and really not. Essentially the MaxDiff friends. Right.
Yes, absolutely. That's the beauty of it. You have this interval. Again, I've done thousands of surveys in my career, and the importance scaling sometimes for clients can be really frustrating, because they'll have a list of items, and then when they look at those and they only see some minor differences in importance between some, and sometimes, honestly, I've had people saying that it's words I hate to hear, but they'll say things like, that doesn't make sense. And with MaxDiff, it always makes sense, because the person's making a trade-off decision. And so the other thing too in survey implementation, just to kind of throw this out there, is a kind of a quality control issue, which is you typically don't get the straight liners who respond to these items. And a straight liner is essentially someone who goes through and just answers the same for all the questions just to get through the survey. We always implement some QC in all of our surveys to avoid that and try to eliminate straight liners. But MaxDiff, you're much less likely to get a straight liner. And so anyway, it's one of those things where, again, just another consideration, because it does make people pay attention a little bit more.
So you're saying essentially it's like, hey, MaxDiff can help you minimize the number of people who are just kind of rushing through the survey, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Awesome. No, I'm sure that's super helpful, especially as, we do QA going forward. So, alrighty. Well, that's all I had for today. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining us today for another episode of Data Lens from Cairn Consulting Group. Today, we covered what is MaxDiff and how it can help you make better business decisions. Don't forget to leave a comment or a question for next week's episode. Hit that like button if you like what you see. And as always, subscribe so you never miss out. Have a great day.